Ukraine just hit Russia, where it hurts the most. While the world watches tanks roll and missiles fly, Ukraine has quietly launched one of the most devastating economic warfare campaigns in modern history. They're hitting Russia's lifeline, their oil. For over 3.5 years, this war has raged on with no end in sight. Neither side is backing down. No ceasefire talks are working. And Russia continues to capture Ukrainian territory. But Ukraine has been playing a very different game entirely. They've discovered something crucial. Russia isn't just a military powerhouse. It's an oil empire. As the world's second-largest oil exporter, Russia's entire economy runs on it. And Ukraine has decided to turn off the tap. Kiev has struck oil facilities deep inside Russia. Elsewhere, dozens of firefighters were called to extinguish a blaze Russia says was caused by a Ukrainian drone attack on an oil depot. August became what many are now calling Black August for Russia. In just 1 month, Ukrainian forces targeted 11 oil refineries and 6 oil stations across Russian territory. But this wasn't random destruction. This was a surgical precision aimed at crippling Russia's economic backbone. The numbers are staggering. These attacks disrupted 17% of Russia's entire refinery capacity. We're talking about 1.1 million barrels per day gone. To put that into perspective, that's enough oil to fuel entire countries. Now this is going to be a controversial topic, and I don't care if YouTube doesn't promote it. I'm going to expose the truth anyways. Controversial topics are suppressed by the algorithm, except when you force it to promote by clicking the like button. Thank you. Russia's total offline oil refining capacity hit a record high of 6.4 million tons. That's 65% higher than anything they had planned for maintenance. But Ukraine had other plans. It decided to hit Russia's oil facilities. Nearly half of this damage came from drone strikes alone. This wasn't just the worst month since the beginning of the war. This surpassed even the COVID disruptions of May 2020. Russia was forced to completely restructure their oil export plans, increasing crude oil exports by 200,000 barrels per day from Western ports just to compensate. Ukraine's biggest attack was on the Ryazan oil refinery, Russia's largest. On August 2nd, Ukrainian drones struck this massive facility operated by Rosneft. The damage was so severe that half of its refining capacity was shut down immediately. This isn't just any refinery. Ryazan processes over 260,000 barrels per day. That's 5% of Russia's entire refining capacity. And Ukraine wasn't done with it. They hit it again on September 5th, showing no mercy. But Ryazan, that was just a trailer. Ukraine also targeted Rosneft's Syzran refinery, forcing it to completely suspend operations with a capacity of 140,000 barrels per day. This facility processes 6 million tons of oil annually. The Syzran refinery in the Samara region, with its 8.5 million ton annual capacity, was also hit so hard that it suspended all production and crude intake. In the Krasnodar region alone, Ukraine struck 3 separate facilities. The main Krasnodar refinery, which produces 3 million tons of light oil products annually, was set ablaze. The Slavyansk and Afipsky refineries were also hit, creating a pattern of systematic targeting across the region. Ukraine didn't stop at refineries. Its next targets hit Russia even harder. They targeted the Luga Baltic Sea export terminal, forcing it to operate at just half capacity, around 350,000 barrels per day, instead of its usual output. Most dramatically, they struck the Druzhba pipeline system, hitting the Unecha pumping station. This single strike disrupted oil supplies to Hungary and Slovakia, showing how Ukraine's strategy affects not just Russia, but Russia's customers too. The Novoshakhtinsk refinery burned for 3 consecutive days after Ukrainian drone strikes. As the only refinery in Rostov Oblast, with a capacity of 5 million metric tons annually, its destruction sent shockwaves through southern Russia's energy sector. The Volgograd refinery operated by Lukoil was completely shut down after drone attacks. The Novokuybishevsk refinery halted all primary oil processing. Even the Sochi oil depot wasn't spared, with 2 oil tanks catching fire after Ukrainian strikes. What we're witnessing isn't just military action. It's economic warfare at its most sophisticated. Ukraine has identified that Russia's war machine runs on oil revenue, and they're systematically dismantling that revenue stream. Every refinery hit, every pipeline damaged, every oil depot burning represents millions in lost revenue that Russia can't use to fund their war effort. It's a strategy that targets not just Russia's ability to fight, but their ability to pay for the fight. After almost 200 days of war, Ukraine has evolved from defending territory to attacking Russia's economic foundation. Now, what do all these refinery attacks mean for regular Russians on the ground? Because this is where Ukraine's strategy really shows its teeth. The moment these refineries started going offline, ordinary Russians felt it immediately. We're talking about widespread fuel shortages and rationing systems popping up everywhere, especially in places like the Far East, southern Russia, and even annexed Crimea. We're starting to see these scenes on social media. Videos of car lines stretching for kilometers at gas stations. That is what is happening across Russia. These weren't just minor inconveniences either. The shortages weren't hitting everywhere equally because of how Russia's logistics work. When you lose major refineries, you have to move fuel from other regions by rail, and their rail network just couldn't handle the extra pressure. This created these weird situations where some areas had plenty of fuel, while others were completely dry. And the consequences were devastating. Fuel prices went absolutely insane. The wholesale price for premium gasoline hit all-time highs, jumping about 50% since the beginning of the war. We're talking about gas stations in places like the Primorsky region where people were paying around 78 rubles per liter. That's about $3.58 per gallon. And this was hitting people's wallets hard. Some people saw this crisis as an opportunity and started exploiting it. Entrepreneurs were selling gasoline online for as much as 220 rubles per liter. That's over $10 a gallon. Black market fuel sales started popping up everywhere, which shows just how desperate the situation has become. Now, the Kremlin is really worried about this because they know rising fuel prices and shortages can spark social unrest. This makes the energy sector not just about money, but about political stability. Ukraine knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted to make sure regular Russians felt the consequences of this war in their daily lives. In Crimea, multiple gas station chains faced serious shortages, with some facilities going completely without fuel for several days straight. In the Russian Far East region, it got so bad that the Kolmsky district had to suspend public gasoline sales entirely and set up these card-based rationing systems just to control who could get fuel. Yeah, it actually got that bad. But Ukraine's preparation suggests it has much bigger plans. Here's what's really impressive about Ukraine's capability. Their drone production has exploded. We're talking about going from 20,000 drones per month in 2024 to 200,000 per month in 2025. That's an impressive tenfold increase. They now have approximately 500 drone manufacturers operating in the country. This massive scale-up is what made all these sustained, coordinated strikes possible during what they're calling Black August. Ukraine's direct attack was deadly, but their psychological warfare was the deadliest. You see, there's another layer to this campaign that's really fascinating. The psychological warfare aspect. Workers at Russian oil refineries started refusing to show up to work because they were scared of getting hit by Ukrainian drones. So Ukraine wasn't just destroying facilities, they were creating fear among the people who run these critical infrastructure sites.